The first photo showed up on my phone at 4:12 a.m., timestamped in the middle of the night while I was asleep, with no contact name, no notification, just there in my camera roll like I had taken it myself, but I hadn't. It was a blurry shot of a woman standing in front of an apartment door I didn't recognize, her back to the camera, her keys in one hand and a plastic bag in the other, and there was something about the way she stood frozen, like she'd paused mid-move, that made my stomach knot instantly, like I'd caught a moment I wasn't supposed to see. I chalked it up to a glitch, maybe some synced cloud backup from someone else's account, maybe a weird app bug. But the second photo showed up the next morning, a man eating breakfast in a diner I'd never been to, staring directly into the lens, eyes wide like he recognized whoever was behind the camera, and whoever that was, it wasn't me. I live alone. I don't share accounts. My phone's not jailbroken. But over the next week, the photos kept coming, one or two a day, always candid, always taken from the perspective of someone standing just far enough away to avoid detection, and never in places I knew. There were patterns, though, recurring faces, familiar buildings, the same flickering ceiling light in a stairwell that kept showing up in different angles. I stopped sleeping. I stopped going to work. I sat in the dark scrolling through each image, marking them, mapping them, because I knew deep down they were telling a story, one I didn't understand yet but was absolutely part of, even though I never appeared in a single frame. Until one photo changed everything. It was a shot of my apartment hallway, taken from the exact angle you'd see if you were standing just outside my door. And in the lower corner of the frame, you could see the edge of a shadow. Not mine, not anyone I recognized, but somehow watching. Like the person holding the camera wasn't just documenting. They were waiting. I deleted the photo within seconds, thinking maybe that would break the chain, maybe that would stop the next one from arriving, but all it did was make the next photo come faster. 15 minutes later, another appeared, this time showing the hallway from a slightly different angle, closer to my door, as if the person behind the camera had taken a single step forward and hit capture again, and this time the shadow wasn't at the edge anymore. It was centered, fuller, but still just far enough, away that I couldn't make out a face, just the shape of someone who didn't belong there. I called the phone company, asked if my device had been hacked or cloned, begged them to run diagnostics, but they said everything looked normal, no breaches, no access points, nothing unusual about my usage, except everything about it was unusual. I stopped opening my curtains. I taped over the front camera. I left the lights on even during the night because I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was trying to pull me into a narrative that wasn't mine to begin with, and the more I resisted, the more it adapted. On the fourth day, the photos stopped appearing in the camera roll. They started arriving through AirDrop. I'd hear the chime, look down, and see unknown device would like to share a photo. I declined every time. It didn't matter. The images still saved. They were sharper now, more deliberate. Each one showed people mid-motion, walking downstairs, looking over their shoulders, frozen with expressions of confusion or fear, as if they just heard something behind them. And then came the folder. It wasn't in my files. It wasn't in the cloud. It was on my lock screen. Just a title, in bold white text across a completely black background. You haven't looked close enough. No file to open. No notification to dismiss. Just that phrase, glowing like it had always been there. And in that moment, I realized what was happening wasn't about photos. It wasn't about who was being watched. It was about who was watching. And I wasn't the one holding the phone anymore. I stopped using the phone altogether after that, powered it down, wrapped it in aluminum foil, shoved it in a drawer, not because I believed that would actually stop whatever was happening, but because I needed the illusion of separation, even for an hour, even for a breath. But the silence that followed wasn't relief. It was pressure, like the world around me was holding its breath, waiting for me to look again. And when I did, when I cracked open the drawer the next morning, the screen was already on. No passcode, no lock, just the Photos app opened on a new album I hadn't created, titled in all caps, Rewind. And inside it were over 100 pictures I'd never seen before, each of them dated years earlier than the phone's purchase, each location one I vaguely recognized from my past, childhood playgrounds, the alley behind my high school, even a bookstore I used to visit on weekends. And in every photo was that same figure, never facing the camera, never moving, always just standing nearby, blending into the scene so well I hadn't noticed him at first until I started comparing them side by side and saw it. The same frame, the same height, the same stance, always watching from a distance like I was the one slowly drifting toward him across time. I threw up twice that day, not from sickness, not from fear exactly, but from the growing certainty that this thing had been following me long before I knew to call it anything. And now it wasn't just showing me its archive. It was reminding me I'd ignored it, left it in the periphery, convinced myself it was coincidence, a trick of the light, a mistake in memory. That night, I slept with every light on, sitting upright on the couch with a kitchen knife in my lap and my phone sealed in a Ziploc bag I placed in the freezer like that would interrupt whatever connection it had to whatever lived inside those images. But at 3:14 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the freezer drawer opening by itself and the soft click of the phone camera going off. One single flash through the darkness that lit up my living room just long enough to see a silhouette in the reflection of the microwave door. I didn't move. I didn't blink. And the next morning, when I finally dared to retrieve the phone, there was one new image waiting for me. It was a photo of me on the couch, asleep, but my reflection in the microwave wasn't. I stopped trusting reflections after that. Not just mirrors, but windows, screens, puddles, even the glare off a doorknob. Because every time I caught a glimpse of myself, I wasn't entirely sure it was me anymore. Not when I saw my head turn before I moved, or caught my eyes staring back a second too long after I'd looked away. And by the fifth day, I'd covered every reflective surface in my apartment with paper, tape, towels, anything to interrupt the illusion that I was still alone in my own skin. But the phone wouldn't stop. Even powered down, it would vibrate once every night at the exact same time, 3:14 a.m., like a reminder, like a heartbeat. And every time I turned it on again, there'd be a new photo waiting, never with sound, never with metadata, never with a visible sender, just dropped into my device like a memory I hadn't earned yet. And each one showed someone closer to me. My neighbor checking her mail, the barista at the corner shop, my old roommate from college I hadn't seen in 6 years. And in the final row of thumbnails, right at the end, was a single image I hadn't dared open until that night. It was titled with my full name. Not just Daniel, but my middle name, too. The one I never use. The one even my parents forgot. And when I tapped it, the screen didn't show a photo. It showed a live feed of my front door from the inside, as if the phone were already there, propped on a shelf I didn't own, aimed precisely at the threshold with perfect framing and no distortion. And the second I moved, just shifted my weight slightly on the couch. The feed updated in real time, showing me now standing instead of sitting, showing me watching myself watch it. That's when I heard the knock, 3 soft taps, like a question, but not from the door, from the phone speaker, as if something on the other side of the feed had tapped back. I threw the phone. I locked myself in the bathroom. I sat on the tile floor with the water running just to have noise. And when I finally crawled back out, there was a photo waiting on the screen. It showed the bathroom door from the inside. I didn't open the door for hours after that, just sat there on the bathroom floor with my back pressed against the tub and my eyes locked on the frame, waiting for movement, for breath, for another knock, but nothing came. And when I finally worked up the nerve to step back into the hallway, everything was still, as if the world had hit pause while I made up my mind about whether I wanted to be part of it anymore. And the phone was sitting on the floor, screen up, not cracked, not broken, just waiting with one more photo loaded and ready. And when I picked it up, this time I didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, I just looked. It was me again, only not like before. This version of me was standing outside, in the rain, no phone in hand, no expression on his face, just staring into the camera like he was waiting for confirmation that the replacement had worked. And behind him, barely visible through the streaks of water on the glass, was a line of other figures, all blurry, all watching, all standing still like they were waiting for something or someone to signal it was time to move. I shut the phone off, wrapped it in towels, put it in the freezer, and I haven't turned it on since. But that didn't stop the photos. They started showing up in my email, on my smartwatch, even printed on paper, delivered without postage, slipped under my door with no footsteps to announce their arrival, and each one showed the same thing. The inside of my apartment from angles I hadn't noticed before, vents, ceiling corners, the backs of mirrors. And each time I looked closer, I'd see myself in the shot, but I wasn't always standing. Sometimes I was asleep. Sometimes I was brushing my teeth. Sometimes I was already staring directly at the camera. And now, I don't even check anymore. I just collect the images and stack them in a shoebox in the back of my closet. Because I think I understand now. It never wanted to hurt me. It just wanted to be seen. And the more I tried to ignore it, the more it tried to show me what I'd already allowed in. I don't use the front camera anymore. I don't take selfies. I don't check my reflection in windows. But if you've been seeing strange photos appear on your phone lately, of places you don't remember, of people who look like you but aren't quite right, then I need you to listen carefully. Don't delete them. Don't hide from them. Don't block the signal. Just ask yourself one question. What if the camera isn't showing you the world? What if it's showing you who's watching from the other side?